here. Just a little reminder, checking in. I haven't been posting very much. I think I got electric poisoning. I think I came down with some toxic poisoning. And this week, I'm on my 5th day of protein only GIT training. All day walking, all day training. Got to work against this internet of bodies. If you don't know what that is, you ought to tune in on one of my other channels or just simply look it up. Catherine Austin Fitz lays it out pretty well, but there's a whole lot of people who are working in the industry over the past 5+ years that have reported on exactly what this is. And so, that not being the subject that we talk about on this channel, and I really do my best to try and not bleed over the subjects into other areas. For the last couple of weeks, I've been focusing on the Linus Pauling method of orthomolecular nutrition, and also combining in Billy J. Saley's methods from Heal with Amino Acids and Nutrients, right? Linus Pauling's high dose vitamin C all through the day. Then adding in what I know and what my mark was for several years. Every time I tried to write a publication, it just didn't come out quite right. But I think I will be doing some sort of pamphlet or something like this to the effect. And meaning like something under 100 pages, 50, 100 pages, but I've got a lot of things that I'm working on as far as that goes. But I've been getting in a full spectrum of not just vitamins and minerals. I take multivitamins all through the day, every day. I'm actually putting into a glass right now some ultra chilled water with a little extra apple cider vinegar and some trace minerals from mineral research groups. It says the 40,000 volts on the front of it. I've got my chicken that never slows me down. Ooh, that's brisk. And we started out with some black tea. I definitely felt it today. I think I had mentioned this on this channel, but if I have not, you know, my uncle died just almost a couple weeks ago, and my mother and my son were going through some. It's weird to call someone your mother that's like you consider a witch, but because you haven't talked to her forever, but you're having to like consolidate, so you come down to these grammatical sort of normative terms, and thereby probably deceiving yourself, right? So I'm just doing that for locution. It's not for any other reason. But my son, whom I love dearly, found a TRX as they're going through my uncle's things. My uncle, even on his Facebook page that I think I put up I think I put it up here a few posts down, but says, you know, I'm boldly got all my COVID vaccines, get your COVID vaccines. And what did he die of? Congestive heart failure. The guy looked great. He always looked much younger than his age. He wasn't like overly gray like me already. He always seemed to have a pretty good grip on his diet. He did listen to doctors all too much. I think that he started to actually become diabetic, taking insulin shots several years ago. And I think that actually was some sort of financial thing for him. where he probably had to do the VA, or not really sure what was going on there, but I did notice he came up real quick. He came up from having nothing. He was an excellent mechanic. Knew everything, had car parts for the last 80 years of different cars and back stock and stockpiles, you know. Scorpio, right? I'm a Libra Scorpio myself. And so I'm a little bit slow, a little punch drunk. I always like to think of it like, you know, being on the protein, taking all the nutrients in, getting everything that I need, having to put myself out with 4, sometimes 5 cheap sleeping pills, you know. That's the one thing that I'm really fucking up on, but excuse my language, but you know, I would choose not to do that, but otherwise I don't sleep at all. It's vital that I get sleep. I've been waking up earlier and getting to sleep slightly earlier, which is something I'm making a great effort on. But in my uncle's things, he'd remembered that I used to train on the TRX suspension trainer all the time, particularly when I stayed with him for a few months down in 2 or 3 months while I was looking for my own place down in Pasadena area. And then even back then, the gym and the personal training industry was beginning to show signs. You know, elitism was taking over, but more so the automata, right? This whole automated system as a singular entity, the media, if you will, began to take over. And now, of course, you can find everything. You don't even need an app, you know. You just, pretty soon what I think that they're going to do, this whole internet of bodies and this machine learning and the AI and, you know, non-fungible tokens and all those sorts of things, all the memes. I think we're going to be going into a time where people can actually take their video content and obviously, you know, rapidly generate near authentic video content that's not even them, right? There'll be so many compilations of so much video footage that they'll be able to just rapidly create or generate specific, and people will order those, right, on an application. And I think most people coming up, if things go the way that they should go, which is not a good thing either, going toward the capitalistic thing and the meritocratic BS, we're going to see more of that, right? More personalized influencing to where people really become fully memified and products. NFTs is what I was thinking of. And it really does get into specific cryptos that believe in this wholeheartedly, to the point where these NFTs are actually going to have brains, literally, like brains that are created through an algorithmic mimetic structure that sort of can generate and combine something that's based on the geometrical pattern and interface. People will be able to go in and tweak and interface little aspects of their character that will become part of the smart contracting, you know? So, yeah, struggling through, walking currently, and the TRX was brand new. There was a higher end TRX with all the Velcro and the, you know, all the bells and whistles. Never opened. Never even opened and looked at. I don't know if he was buying it for me or for him or what was going on with that. But probably when he moved to this area, he was, some years back, he was thinking about things a little bit differently than they turned out. And at that time, I was trying to help a friend of mine out that wasn't really a friend. She ended up sucking up close to a decade of my life, really trying to step in for other people's karma that I've talked about can be a very dangerous thing to do. And at this point, I hope that you're all seeing things very clearly, keeping your eyes wide open, not wide shut, and realizing that you have to consolidate and pull back, right? And the best thing to do is to get a hold of your diet and really purify yourself, right? And then add all the constituents in that you need in order to build up your cellular structure, your fascia, breathing. Oftentimes people aren't even focusing on their breathing. When I get off this little live stream here, it'll probably never be put up. Not sure if I will put it up or not. It's more of an update, what's been going on. I'm probably even feeling like I'm starving right now. And being my 5th day in, halfway through my 5th day on all protein, just starting my exercise day out and taking this very seriously as a profession again. That's what the last 5 days have represented to me. So I'm just jumping right into it. And as soon as I did that, as soon as I had that commitment, things from 15 years ago, the positives, the things that I really pushed myself on, the things that caused a certain transcendence to occur, a total transcendence to occur, on a total positive note, began to manifest again, where it's kind of like, you know what you have to do. So that's the message, right? That's the general message here. The very specific message is that if you're stuck, you don't really know what to do next, you do know what to do. And if you feel stuck because you feel like you're so distant or far, you know, when we talk about this equidistance, right? We only imagine that, right? You're right next to your hopes, you're right next to your dreams, you're right next to that place that you think you're never going to be able to get back again. But even things that you would discount and say that exists in my youth, it doesn't exist here and now. You'd be surprised how you can bring something back when it has a very positive effect on you, right? And for me, I mean, like I've talked about, I've walked, when I was down in Pasadena, I was walking 30 miles a day. I was training regularly. I wasn't hitting the high volume training that I was prior to, but I did end up going back into that eventually. But it never was quite the same to recapture. And I really believe that if I would have restudied up on the orthomolecular science and nutrition plan, I could have brought myself back from serious deficit. And I think that that people exhibit a lot of issues, a lot of problems, from aggressive behavior, you know, adrenaline overload, to, you know, metabolic disease, metabolic syndrome, heart disease, as I was discussing, you know, when I was talking about my uncle, diabetes. You'd be surprised how, you know, I'm not making any claims here. And Linus Pauling, you know, he was being shot every time he seemed to be making these claims. And then soon after, if you notice, around that time, that's when the supplement industry, you know, this is back in 92, 93, right? When he passed away. And the supplement industry was really coming at, you know, the government was coming at the supplement industry hard, saying you can't make erroneous claims, and suddenly everybody's being paid off by these pharmaceutical companies, and you see full blown what's occurred now, right? So I think that even the naysayers against Linus Pauling were possibly, you know, paid operatives, agent provocateurs. And now that doesn't sound so crazy, but at a time, if you would have mentioned that type of thing happening, you know, to create this disinformation, to snuff something at its root, because still to this day, they try to make vitamin C, you know, in some good ways, like the liposomes and the exosomes. Adding that in with vitamin C has been shown to really bolster, you know, these are like synthetic cells that operate like they really help just the efficacy of the vitamin and of the absorption rate to just be enhanced doubles, you know, it's from what some doctors say. So that's something to look into. But you can buy vitamin C for relatively cheap still. I mean, you can get the cheaper version if you can't afford the expensive stuff. And I know there's a difference between the more natural vitamin C and the pure type vitamin C, right? And ascorbic acid, you know, over the counter type stuff. There is a difference. But, and even Linus Pauling, you know, he talked about how much is spilled out was spilled out of his urine. But I don't think he measured his fecal matter, right? So 15% out of 10 grams or 1.5 grams, right? 1,500 grams was pissed out through his urinary tract, right? And probably, I would say, when you look at the vitamin C flush and all that, there's a good sign that, you know, an equal amount's probably coming through, maybe even more coming, you know, through your fecal matter. So in other words, you really need to build up your ability for absorption. If I'm taking what appears to be overdosing, right? So that's why I always recommended, like through GET training, through the orthomolecular approach that I always have talked about in reference to myself. You can try it if you want, is what I always say. Not giving any advice, but I am saying that even just taking regular full spectrum nutritional supplements in to make sure you've got your base, you know, all your B's, your C, your magnesium, right? Even, you know, they say the things that I recommend still to people that I know, it's like copper is very important. They say never supplement with copper. Calcium, never supplement with calcium. Other things that they say aren't good for you, you know. Well, in my opinion, you got to have the selenium and the cobalt and everything else to accompany those main nutrients, right? And what this allows your body to do is to synthesize and break down, you know, amino acids, right? And produce, like if you're in a form of starvation, you're going to be using simpler amino acids such as glycine and so forth. This will prompt, a lot of the things are prompted through cortisol, right? Stomach lining rubbing together, producing ghrelin, right? To really get those benefits, and then we piggyback on top of that. So that's what I'm going through right now. You can hear I'm a little winded. We're breathing more, you know, we go into oxidative stress much faster here. Oxygen diffusion, and you know, 5 days in, your body knows that it hasn't had any carbohydrates. Trust me. And I'm going to try and stay on this as long as I can, because I have a definite goal in mind. And the next time that I take in any macronutrient other than protein, and I'm taking my supplements all through the day, every day. The next time that I do that, I'm going to only eat. I ordered some, I've got on my list anyway, Ezekiel bread. I'm not going to be eating any rice that time around. I'm not going to be eating any lentils. I'm just doing the sprouted grains, Ezekiel bread only, the actual brand, nothing else. I'm going to be toasting that in the oven, and I'm only going to do that for 1 day, not even a full day. Probably I'll get like 2 or 3 good meals out of it. I'll be eating all day because I'll have, what I'm ordering is mushrooms, broccoli, cabbage, sauerkraut in the form of sauerkraut, fermented, right? You want to be able to get the most out of everything. You know, you get the K2, right? and apples, oranges, right? Mixed in with a variety of just different vegetables, garlic, onions. I've got a big list. And I just order enough, like I get a bag here, a container there, things that most people would kind of keep in their fridge for a week, week and a half before it goes bad and, you know, toss it. What I do is I cook everything up in a day. I'm eating all those vegetables. I'm going from complete depletion and having no glycogen load whatsoever to rapidly absorbing those nutrients. And I'll tell you, it makes a big difference. So that's the first thing your body is searching for. And yeah, we'll go organic where we can, but I'm not getting too nitpicky about it, right? Got spinach coming, asparagus, Brussels sprouts. So what I'll do is I'll cook that in a large pot, and I am ordering some more EVOO, extra virgin olive oil. I've still got some flax and I've got some coconut oil left. And I'll be eating that Ezekiel bread toasted with coconut oil. That's something I used to do way back in the day. It's not so bad when you're adding the MCTs in with, say, sprouted grains. You're not eating any processed or bleached flour or sugars in the Ezekiel bread. So everything that I've ordered is going to be natural. There'll be no refined sugars. There'll be no cheap foods. There's nothing processed in it whatsoever, and it's really just vegetables, a little bit of fruits cooked in with the vegetables, right? And then, of course, avocados. That's where you get your copper from. You get iron and other things. I probably should add some nuts to that list so that I can make sure that I get in my magnesium, almonds, walnuts. And I'll probably order just one container because I'll be like, okay, what can I fit into my stomach in one day and go right back on the program the very next day, right? So let's see, tomorrow will be day 6, day after, day 7. So Saturday will be my day 7. That will put me, so I won't be ordering anything most likely for a week after that. So I'm on this for at least another 10 days, 10 to 12 days. Might even be 2 weeks of just on protein. And I'll take pictures here and there. I'm not documenting it like that huge weight loss I did, last year and leading in the year before into that. But I mean, you can see it. Now, the thing that I want to note is that my skin is one of the first things that's shrinking around and tightening up from all that growth hormone. I'm getting really good sleep. Vitamin C is repairing and restoring everything in my body. The first few days I was on that, I wasn't even on just exclusively protein, but I have been going on and off with protein. Like I did a 3-day last week and then went off for a whole week, right? Eating really healthy foods, right? And nothing processed. I did have some cereal, so I did have some processed food, but it was like Raisin Bran. I was trying to get a cheap form of bran and I didn't have a lot of money. Still no excuse, but I couldn't afford like getting Ezekiel bread or anything like that. So what I've noticed and what I can tell you is that the fat around your waist goes down very quickly when you're on like a carnivore style diet, but you won't see it anywhere else. You will see the scale the first couple weeks you're on it, just initially, you'll just drop in body fat. But something that I knew back in the day, having tested out ketogenic diets, training people that were, on ketogenic type diets, and then having people say, I tried your protein thing and I just couldn't do it because they were associating the ketogenic diet with it. It's very difficult. Like what I'm doing, I'm not saying it's easy. In fact, I realized years ago that this isn't something that people could just sweep up and steal or take. Like, and it's nothing that I can even proselytize, right? It's the type of thing where you have to use a master will to be able to even get yourself conditioned into the state that I'm going into this, right? And my main focus, my main aim is one of a spiritual nature. It's one of an energetic nature. It's me being that alchemical gold, or that gold, right? And that money doesn't really mean much when your health is shit and you got demons in you and all around you, and the people that you're dealing with make your life pernicious and nasty, and you can't even see how nasty you are or where you'd be or the healthy you that would exist, that would run. You know, it'd be nice to have a program, an app that would holographically project the you that should exist at your age. That, you know, the prototype of health and fitness and vitality, right? This is what would happen if you didn't become diabetic, or you didn't eat McDonald's, or you didn't eat, you know, over-the-counter crap, or you didn't eat processed food, or you weren't always stressed out, right? And or whatever, you know, gets you, right? You know what those pre-indications, what those contraindications are, right? And the first thing you got to do is bring your weight down, right? And so that's another thing. I'm not trying to talk people out of doing orthomolecular, the way that I approach orthomolecular nutrition. But if you wanted to revert and get the benefits out of this without going so extreme, right? That is something that just bends your mind and your will, and you know, you really don't know why the fuck you're doing it. Like, I'd have people come back to me going, I really tried what you're telling me to do, and I couldn't do it. Like, it's just so fucking difficult. And I even gained weight while I was on it, and I'm like, you're not going to see it on the scale. In fact, the weird thing about going into all protein fast, when we're talking about all protein fast, that's what we need. We get a protein powder that's very low in carbohydrates. I always look for something that's got like 2 grams though, where I'm taking in a tiny amount, right? That'll just start those ATP moles, you know, of metabolic function out, right? But I'm definitely in G&G. Like, I am deep in gluconeogenesis. And then I'll eat chicken, but eventually my appetite drops so much that I don't even want the chicken, you know. I end up just, I'm okay on the liquid protein. But this time out, I'm really keeping the walking up. I'm not limping into it. I'm doing a lot of body weight jump squats, body weight squats while I'm doing my walk. I'm also, I've got this TRX all ready to go for TRX push-ups, TRX back rows, which is going to make a huge difference for my back function and muscularity there. That's one of the best exercises you can possibly do, is those supinated back rows, right? Where you're face up, grabbing those handles, and then you put your feet up on. I've got a loudspeaker that my son has in the other room that's at the perfect height, and I look forward to doing it. Yeah, just pushing these miles out. I try not to overthink too much. And then down the road, what ends up happening is you get to this point where you're so ultra lean and all your body wants is protein. And I will, you know, I'll get to a point where I'm just craving protein so much that I just can't eat enough. And I get really high energy. I start to feel great. I'm actually functionally living off of protein powder, and I'm in this heightened state. So that's really why I started wearing glasses, because I would look at myself in the mirror and my eyes would be huge like an owl, right? Like that, those aromatic amino acids like phenylalanine are just like pumping through my blood. Like it's just compounding, right? And so as I drop the weight and I get back out and my body, you know, I lose the organ fat, all that fat around my liver, my kidneys. I mean, there's so much organ fat around your heart, right? You'll lose all that. You lose that stuff first. When you're on just protein, when you go right into gluconeogenesis, bypassing really ketosis, your body realizes, man, we're gonna have to burn. So that's why you have to force yourself to oxidize. Like this walking is the number one thing that you could possibly do. It doesn't have to be a brisk walk. In fact, you're not gonna have high output energy, and that's why body weight resistance training, such as using the TRX, is perfect for this modality. Even when you go and you just start doing kettlebell swings and so forth, at first it feels very foreign, right? Or if you start to go do some heavy lifting, you'll be much stronger than you thought you would be because of the amino acids in the muscle nitrogen rich environment, right? You're never going without. You've always got ample amounts of all essential amino acids, right? It's debated, right? Do you need 8? In my opinion, you need that 20. Your body recognizes that it's not in starvation, right? When you're taking all the essential amino acids in. Anyway, that's my